Commander Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and watched the stars through the main screen. His ship moved slowly through the outer edge of the Kepler sector, where few humans had ever been before. The mission was simple and boring. Like most exploration jobs, they were supposed to map new systems and look for planets that might be good for human colonies. Lisa Carter sat at her station and watched the communication systems. She was young but very good at her job. Most days, she only heard the quiet hum of space and the normal chatter between crew members. Today felt different, though. Her equipment was picking up something strange. "Commander Miller," she said, and turned around in her chair. "I am getting some weird readings from the next star system." Jake walked over to her station and looked at the numbers on her screen. He had been in space for 15 years, but had never seen anything like this. The energy patterns were moving in ways that made no sense. It was like the space itself was being twisted into strange shapes. "How far away is this?" Jake asked. "About 6 hours at normal speed," Lisa said. "But sir, the readings are getting stronger. Whatever is making this signal is very powerful." Jake thought for a moment. They were supposed to be doing routine mapping work, but this discovery could be important. "Set course for the source of the signal. Let me know if anything changes." The USS Defiance changed direction and headed toward the mysterious energy source. Jake called his science officer Danny Torres to the bridge. Danny was a smart man who had studied alien technology for many years. If anyone could figure out what they were seeing, it would be him. "What do you think, Danny?" Jake asked, and showed him the readings. Danny looked at the data for a long time. His face became more worried as he studied the numbers. "Commander, this is not natural. Something is making these energy patterns, and it is bigger than anything I have ever seen before." "Bigger how?" Jake asked. "The power output is like a small star, but it is moving." "Stars do not move like this," Danny said and pointed at the screen. "Whatever this is, it has enough energy to destroy planets." The ship traveled for 6 hours toward the source of the strange signals. As they got closer, the readings became stronger and more frightening. Lisa had to turn down her equipment because the energy was so powerful it was hurting her ears through the speakers. When they finally arrived at the star system, Jake could not believe what he saw. The system had 4 planets, but they were all wrong. 3 of them were nothing but bare rock with no atmosphere or water. The 4th planet was completely gone, except for a small core of metal floating in space. "What happened here?" Jake said quietly. Danny ran more scans, and his face went pale. "Commander, according to my readings, this system had life just a few months ago. There should be cities and forests and oceans, but everything is gone. Something ate it all." On the main screen, 3 alien ships came into view. Jake had seen pictures of alien vessels before, but had never met any aliens in person. One ship was long in silver, like the Zephyrian Empire used. Another was dark, and seemed to bend light around it, which meant it belonged to the Void Walkers. The 3rd ship was made of crystal, and belonged to the ancient crystalline collective. "They are scanning us," Lisa said. "I think they want to talk." Jake ordered his crew to open communication channels. The main screen flickered and showed 3 different alien faces. The Zephyrian looked like a tall blue human with extra arms. The Void Walker was hidden in shadow, and Jake could only see glowing eyes. The crystalline being looked like living glass that changed colors when it moved. "Human vessel," the Zephyrian said in broken English. "You must leave this place now. Great danger comes." "What kind of danger?" Jake asked. The 3 aliens looked at each other with what seemed like fear. The crystalline being spoke next with a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "Ancient hunger moves through space. It eats everything. All life, all energy, all matter." The Void Walker's voice was deep and scary. "We have seen 20 systems die. Nothing can stop it. We run and tell all others to run too. Jake felt his heart beating faster. Where is this thing now, moving toward? Your space, the Zephyrian said. Maybe 2 months until it reaches your colonies. You must evacuate everyone and go far away. Danny was recording everything and taking notes as fast as he could. How big is this creature? He asked. Bigger than your moon, the crystalline being said. It has arms that reach out and touch planets. Everything it touches becomes food. The Void Walker moved closer to his screen. Every species that has met this thing has done the same. We run as fast as we can and never come back. There is no shame in running from death itself. How long has this been happening? Jake asked. The hunger has moved through our galaxy for millions of years, the Zephyrian said. It sleeps for long times, then wakes up hungry. When it wakes, whole civilizations disappear. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. They were all listening with wide eyes and pale faces. This was bigger than anything humanity had ever faced. Before, the aliens were clearly very advanced and very smart, but they were all running away in terror. We will take your warning back to our leaders, Jake said to the 3 aliens. Good, the Zephyrian said. Tell them to move everyone far from here. Go to the other side of the galaxy if you can. Distance is the only safety. The 3 alien ships began to power up their engines. Before they left, the crystalline being spoke one more time. We are sorry. For your species. The hunger cannot be stopped or reasoned with. It only eats and moves on. Save who you can. The alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the USS Defiance alone with the dead planets. Jake ordered Lisa to send an emergency message back to Earth with all the information they had gathered. This was not just a discovery anymore. This was a warning that could save or doom the entire human race. As the USS Defiance turned toward home, Jake wondered what his leaders would do with this information. Would they listen to the aliens and run away, or would they try to find another solution? Either way, humanity was about to face its greatest test ever. Admiral Susan Brooks was reading morning reports at Earth Defense Command when the emergency signal came through. She had been in charge of human space defense for 8 years and had seen many crisis situations, but nothing like this. The message from Commander Miller was marked with the highest priority codes and included video files that made her coffee grow cold as she watched. The footage showed dead planets and terrified aliens warning about an ancient creature that ate entire civilizations. Most leaders would have immediately ordered evacuations and started planning humanity's retreat to safety. Susan Brooks was not most leaders. Instead of panic, she felt something else growing inside her. It was not fear, but anger at the idea that humanity should run without even trying to fight. She called for an emergency meeting of the Unified Earth Council. Within 6 hours, President Richard Hayes and representatives from every major nation and colony had gathered in the crisis chamber deep under the mountains of Colorado. The room filled with worried voices as Admiral Brooks played the recording from the USS Defiance. President Hayes was a calm man who had led Earth through several smaller conflicts with alien traders and pirates. He watched the video twice before speaking. Admiral Brooks, what is your recommendation? Sir, I think we need more information before we decide anything, Susan said. The aliens are clearly afraid, but that does not mean running is our only choice. Senator John Carter from the Mars colonies stood up, and his face was red with anger. Admiral, are you suggesting we fight something that destroyed 20 star systems? The aliens have technology far beyond ours, and they are running away in terror. I am suggesting we study this threat before we abandon everything humans have built in space, Susan replied. We have colonies on 15 worlds and mining stations throughout the solar system. Evacuating everyone would take months, and where would we go? Dr. Patricia Lee, who ran Earth's xenobiology, Institute raised her hand to speak. She was a small woman with gray hair, but everyone respected her knowledge of alien life forms. I have been studying the data from Commander Miller's ship. This creature may be powerful, but it is not random in its attacks. It seems to target specific types of energy signatures. What does that mean? President Hayes asked. It means the creature might be intelligent and have weaknesses we can exploit, Dr. Lee said. Every biological system has limits, even very large ones. If we can understand how it feeds and moves, we might find a way to stop it. The room exploded with arguments. Half the council wanted immediate evacuation, while the other half supported Dr. Lee's suggestion to study the threat. Admiral Brooks listened to both sides, but her mind was already made up. Humanity had never run from a fight when their homes and families were threatened. While the council argued, reports were coming in from across human space. Governor Paul Davis on Mars had received the evacuation order, but his response surprised everyone. Instead of organizing refugee ships, he called for volunteers to help defend the colony. Within hours, thousands of people had signed up to help build weapons and fortifications. On the Jupiter mining stations, Director Helen Rodriguez got a similar response from her workers. The miners and engineers refused to abandon the facilities they had spent years building. They started converting mining equipment into weapons and turning cargo ships into makeshift warships. The same thing was happening on every human world and station. Families that could have escaped chose to stay together and fight. Engineers worked overtime to build better defenses. Even children were asking how they could help protect their homes. Admiral Brooks received reports from military commanders across human space. Captain Amy Foster of the USS Valiant sent a message saying her entire crew had volunteered to stay and fight instead of evacuating civilians. Similar messages came from hundreds of other ships and bases. The alien species, monitoring human communications, could not understand what they were seeing. The Zephyrian Admiral Cathara sent a direct message to Admiral Brooks. Human leader, we do not understand your species' response. Courage without wisdom leads only to death. Why do your people not flee? Because running away is not who we are. Admiral Brooks replied, humans fight for what matters to them, even when the odds are bad. The Void Walker representative contacted Earth through quantum entanglement. Its message was simple, but showed genuine confusion. Your species chooses death over life. This makes no sense to us. The hunger cannot be defeated. Dr. Lee spent days studying every piece of data about the creature. She worked with physicist Carl Johnson and engineer Maya Patel to understand how something so large could move through space and consume matter. Slowly they began to see patterns that the panicked aliens had missed. The creature does not eat everything, Dr. Lee explained to the council. It targets specific types of energy, particularly the kind produced by advanced technology. It might be feeding on civilization itself, rather than just matter. This discovery changed everything. If the creature was specifically hunting advanced civilizations, then humanity's technology might be different enough to confuse or even hurt it. Human quantum systems work differently than most alien technology because humans had developed space travel independently. President Hayes made the final decision after 3 days of debate. We will not evacuate our colonies. Instead, we will prepare to defend them. Admiral Brooks, you have full authority to organize our defenses. The news spread across human space within hours. Instead of panic, there was celebration. Humans everywhere felt proud that their leaders had chosen to stand and fight rather than run away like cowards. Work crews that had been preparing evacuation ships switched to building weapons and shields. Admiral Brooks began organizing the largest military buildup in human history. Every ship that could carry weapons was converted for combat. Civilian vessels became troop transports and supply ships. Even small personal craft were equipped with basic weapons for scouting and communication. The alien species watching humanity's preparations sent more warnings, but also began to show respect. The Crystalline Collective sent a message saying, "Your species shows great courage. We hope you find a way to survive what we could not face." As reports came in from across human space, Admiral Brooks felt something she had never experienced before. For the first time in human history, every colony, every ship, and every person was united in a single purpose. They would not run from this threat. They would face it together and either win or die trying. The creature was still 2 months away. But humanity was already changing. Fear was being replaced by determination. Doubt was being overcome by unity. Admiral Brooks knew that whatever happened in the coming battle, humanity would face it as one people with one voice saying the same thing to the universe. We will not run. Dr. Patricia Lay had not slept for 3 days. Her team worked around the clock in the research labs under Earth's surface, studying every piece of data about the approaching creature. Physicist Carl Johnson sat at a computer running calculations, while engineer Maya Patel built models of how the creature might attack human technology. "Look at this pattern," Carl said and pointed at his screen. "The creature does not just eat everything it touches. It scans first, then targets specific energy types." Dr. Lee walked over and studied the numbers. The alien data showed that the creature had ignored certain materials and structures while completely consuming others. It is looking for something specific. Advanced power sources maybe. Maya had built a 3-dimensional model that showed how the creature moved through space. See how it approaches each planet. It does not attack randomly. It circles first and extends small tendrils to test what it finds. That gives us time, Dr. Lee said with excitement. If it has to study our technology before attacking, we might be able to confuse it or even hurt it during that process. The research team discovered that human quantum technology operated on different principles than most alien systems. Humans had developed their space drives and weapons independently, which meant they produced energy signatures the creature might not recognize immediately. While the scientists worked, Captain Amy Foster prepared the USS Valiant for combat. Her ship was part of the defense fleet gathering at the edge of human space. The fleet grew larger every day as ships arrived from colonies throughout the solar system and beyond. Her tactical officer, Ryan Clark, had never seen so many human ships in one place. Military vessels mixed with converted civilian craft and mining ships equipped with improvised weapons. "Captain, we now have over 300 ships ready for combat. How many more are coming?" Amy asked. "At least 200 more in the next week," said weapons specialist Nicole Green. "Some of the mining companies are sending their entire fleets." The defense fleet was the largest military formation in human history, but Amy wondered if it would be enough. The alien warnings had been clear about the creature's power. Still, she felt proud to be part of humanity's response to this threat. Commander Tony Martinez led the forward reconnaissance team in fast scout ships positioned near the edge of human territory. His job was to watch for the creature's approach and give early warning to the main fleet. The waiting was the hardest part because they all knew what was coming. Movement detected, his sensor operator Lisa Wong called out. Something big just entered the outer system. Tony felt his heart speed up. After weeks of preparation, the creature had finally arrived. "Show me." The main screen displayed a shape that defied understanding. The creature looked like a dark cloud the size of Earth's moon, but it moved with purpose through space. Long tendrils reached out from its central mass, twisting and searching like the arms of some cosmic octopus. "Send the alert to Admiral Brooks," Tony ordered. "Tell her the creature is here." Within minutes, the news reached every ship in the defense fleet. This was no longer preparation or planning. The battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. The creature moved slowly through the outer system examining asteroids and small moons. Its tendrils touched objects briefly and either consumed them completely or left them alone. Dr. Lee's theory seemed correct. The creature was studying everything it found. "It is learning about our technology," Carl Johnson said as he watched. The creature's movements. Every piece of human equipment it finds teaches it something new. Admiral Brooks ordered all ships to maintain communication silence and avoid using their main power systems. If the creature was studying human technology, they needed to hide their true capabilities as long as possible. The creature approached the orbit where Tony's reconnaissance ships waited. The scout vessels were small and used minimal power, but the creature still noticed them. Several tendrils reached toward Tony's ship, and he had to make a crucial decision. "Should we run, sir?" His pilot Jake Burns asked Tony, thought about his orders and about what this moment meant for humanity. "No, try to establish communication." "Sir, that is not what Admiral Brooks ordered." The Admiral said to observe and report. "I cannot report on something I do not understand," Tony said. "Open all communication channels." Tony's ship sent out signals on every frequency humans knew. Mathematical sequences, musical patterns, and basic pictograms that showed peaceful intent. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the creature responded. The response was not words or pictures, but pure energy patterns that somehow formed meaning directly in the minds of Tony's crew. The sensation was overwhelming and frightening, but also strangely beautiful. "We hear. You small ones," the creature's voice echoed in their thoughts. "You do not run like the others. Why do you remain?" Tony struggled to form a response that the creature could understand. "We want to talk. We want to understand. Understanding requires consumption," the creature replied. "I learn by taking. I grow by eating. This is my nature. You do not have to eat us," Tony said. "We can share information without destroying each other." The creature's tendrils moved closer to Tony's ship, but did not touch it. "Curious. Other species flee when they see me. You remain and offer discourse. This has not happened in many cycles." Dr. Lee was listening to the conversation through the communication link. She realized this might be humanity's only chance to learn about their enemy before the battle began. "Ask it about its purpose," she transmitted to Tony. "Why do you consume civilizations?" Tony asked the creature. "I am ancient beyond your understanding," the creature responded. "I have existed since the galaxy was young. I feed on the energy that thinking beings create. Their technology, their culture, their very thoughts become part of me. But that means you are destroying the very thing you need." Maya Patel said over the communication link. "If you eat all the civilizations, where will you get more energy?" The creature paused for a long moment. Its tendrils stopped moving, and its dark mass seemed to shift and change. "You speak of concepts I have not considered. I consume because I hunger. I hunger because I exist." This is the way of things Carl Johnson had been analyzing the creatures. Energy patterns during the conversation. "Dr. Lee, I am reading something interesting. The creature's power levels fluctuate when it thinks. Its consciousness requires enormous amounts of energy to maintain." Dr. Lee understood immediately. The creature is not just a predator. It is addicted to the energy it consumes. It literally cannot stop feeding without risking its own existence. Tony continued talking with the creature while the scientists gathered data. "Have you ever tried to exist without consuming civilizations? Such existence would mean death," the creature replied. "I must feed or I must fade. There is no other choice." "What if there was another choice?" Tony asked. "What if we could help? You find a different way to exist." The creature's response was filled with something that sounded like longing. "For millions of years I have moved through the darkness, consuming and growing, and always hungering for more. If there was another way, I would want to know it." But then the creature's mood changed, and its tendrils began moving aggressively again. Yet, you are small and young. How could you understand what beings far greater than you could not solve? I will study your species as I have studied all others. Then I will consume you and continue my eternal journey." The conversation ended as the creature moved deeper into the system toward the human colonies. Tony's reconnaissance team followed at a safe distance while transmitting everything they had. Learned to the main fleet dock, Admiral Brooks now knew they were facing more than just a mindless destroyer. The creature was intelligent, ancient, and possibly desperate. It might be willing to negotiate, but only if humanity could prove they had something valuable to offer. The real test was about to begin. Admiral Susan Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty as her flagship led the human defense fleet into position. 500 ships of every size and type formed a defensive line between the creature and the populated systems beyond. She had spent her entire career preparing for battles, but nothing like this. "All ships report ready for combat," her communications officer Kate Miller announced. "The creature is moving toward our forward positions." Admiral Brooks looked at the tactical display showing the massive entity approaching their lines. The creature moved slowly, but with terrifying purpose. Its dark mass pulsed with energy, while dozens of tendrils reached out in all directions, testing the space around it. "Signal all ships to hold formation, but do not power weapons until I give the order," Admiral Brooks commanded. "We need to see what this thing does first." Captain Amy Foster positioned the USS Valiant on the right flank of the defensive line. Her tactical officer Ryan Clark monitored the creature's approach, while weapons specialist Nicole Green prepared their quantum disruptors for combat. The entire crew felt the tension as humanity's greatest test began. Colonel Sam Wright coordinated ground defenses on the outer colonies from his command post on New Texas. His team included demolitions expert Grace Kelly and communications officer Jack Thompson. They had built defensive positions around every major settlement, but everyone knew the real battle would happen in space. "Ground teams report ready," Jack Thompson said. "All civilian shelters are sealed and protected." "Good, Colonel," Wright replied. "Now we wait and see if our ships can stop that thing before it gets close enough to hurt our people." The creature entered the outer edge of the defensive zone and immediately began extending tendrils toward the human ships. The dark appendages moved like living things searching for energy sources to consume. When they touched the first human vessel, the USS Courage under Captain Ben Lewis, the entire fleet held its breath. The tendril made contact with the ship's hull and began the scanning process the creature had used on previous victims. But something unexpected happened. Instead of easily penetrating the ship's defenses, the tendril encountered human quantum shielding technology. "The creature's tendril cannot break through our shields," Captain Lewis reported. "It is trying different frequencies, but our quantum fields are holding." Dr. Patricia Lay monitored the encounter from her research station aboard the USS Liberty. "The creature is confused," she announced. "Human technology operates on principles it has never encountered before." The creature pulled back its tendril and tried again with more force. This time the energy discharge was visible as bright flashes of light where the tendril met the ship's shields. The USS Courage shook from the impact, but its defenses held firm. "All ships power up weapons," Admiral Brooks ordered. "Target the creature's tendrils. Let us see if we can hurt this thing." The human fleet opened fire with concentrated quantum disruptor beams. The weapons had been designed to fight alien pirates and small warships, but the combined firepower of 500 vessels created an impressive display. Bright energy beams struck the creature's tendrils, and something amazing happened. The creature's appendages began to dissolve where the human weapons hit them. For the first time in millions of years, the ancient entity encountered weapons that could actually damage its body. The creature's response was immediate and violent. Multiple tendrils incoming, Ryan Clark shouted from his position on the USS Valiant. The creature is attacking with everything it has. Dozens of dark appendages lashed out at the human fleet. Ships scattered to avoid the massive tentacles while continuing to fire their weapons. The USS Determination, under Captain Lisa Brown, took a direct hit, but her quantum shields absorbed most of the impact. "Shields down to 60%, Lisa's engineer reported. "But we are still fighting." The battle escalated as the creature realized it faced an enemy, unlike any it had encountered before. Its attacks became more focused and aggressive as it tried to overwhelm human defenses through sheer power. Energy discharges filled the space between the fleet and the creature, creating a light show visible from the colonies. Admiral Brooks coordinated the fleet's movements from her command center. Group Alpha concentrate fire on the creature's left side. Group Beta maintain defensive formation and protect our damaged ships. The human fleet moved like a well-trained unit, despite being made up of military vessels, civilian craft, and converted mining ships. Captain Foster's USS Valiant led a flanking attack while Captain Lewis and the USS Courage held the center line. Every ship fought with determination, knowing that humanity's survival depended on their success. Dr. Lee made a crucial discovery during the battle. "Admiral, the creature's energy levels are dropping when our weapons hit it. We are not just hurting. We are disrupting its feeding process." "What does that mean?" Admiral Brooks asked. "The creature needs to absorb energy to maintain its consciousness," Dr. Lee explained. "Our quantum disruptors interfere with that process. If we can disrupt it long enough, the creature will weaken." This information changed everything. The human fleet was not just defending their colonies, they were actually winning the fight. Admiral Brooks ordered all ships to focus their fire on specific points around the creature's central mass. The concentrated firepower had an immediate effect. The creature's movements became less coordinated and its attacks weaker. For the first time since the battle began, the ancient entity showed signs of distress. "The creature is trying to retreat," Captain Foster reported. "It is pulling back its tendrils and moving away from our line." But Admiral Brooks was not willing to let the threat escape. "All ships pursue. Do not let it reach the outer system where it can recover." The human fleet chased the creature deeper into space, maintaining constant fire. The entity tried several times to turn and attack, but each time human weapons forced it to retreat further. The battle that had started as a desperate defense was becoming a pursuit. Colonel Wright watched the space battle from his ground command post and felt pride swelling in his chest. "Our people are doing it," he told his team. "They are actually beating this thing." Grace Kelly monitored communications from the fleet. "The creature has lost over half its tendrils, and its energy output is down 40%. The creature made one final desperate attempt to break through human lines. It gathered all its remaining energy and launched a massive attack at the center of the fleet, where Admiral Brooks commanded from the USS Liberty. The assault was so powerful, it overloaded sensors and forced nearby ships to retreat. Direct hit on the flagship, Captain Foster reported from the USS Valiant. "USS Liberty's shields are failing." Admiral Brooks felt her ship shake as the creature's most powerful tendril struck their hull. Sparks flew from control panels and the lights flickered, but the crew remained at their posts. "Damage report," she called out. "Hull breach on deck 7, her engineer replied. "But our quantum core is still intact." The creature pressed its attack, thinking it had found a weakness in the human formation. But Admiral Brooks had planned for this moment. "All ships execute formation gamma. Surround the creature and hit it from every direction." The human fleet moved into a sphere around the ancient entity, trapping it in a cage of quantum fire. Ships attacked from above, below, and all sides, while the creature thrashed wildly, trying to escape. Its remaining tendrils lashed out desperately, but could not reach enough targets to break free. The creature's energy levels are critical. Dr. Lee announced. "It cannot maintain this level of activity much longer." Captain Ben Lewis moved the USS Courage into close range and fired continuously at the creature's central mass. "This is for every civilization you destroyed," he said as his weapons tore into the entity's dark substance. The creature's movements became erratic as its ancient consciousness began to fail. Millions of years of consuming civilizations had made it dependent on external energy sources. Now cut off from its food supply and damaged by human weapons, it faced something it had never experienced before: weakness. "All ships concentrate fire on the creature's core," Admiral Brooks ordered. "End this now." 500 human ships focused their weapons on a single target. The combined firepower of humanity's greatest fleet struck the creature's central consciousness. Like a hammer blow, the ancient entity convulsed once, then began to collapse in on itself. The creature's final transmission reached every human mind in the fleet. "Impossible," it whispered. "How do such young beings possess such strength?" "Because we fight for something greater than ourselves," Admiral Brooks replied, knowing the creature could hear her thoughts. "We fight for our families, our homes, and our future." The creature's form began to dissolve as its consciousness finally failed. The dark mass that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years faded into harmless energy that scattered among the stars. Where once an ancient hunger had existed, now there was only empty space and the victorious human fleet. Cheers erupted on every ship as crews realized they had won. The impossible had happened. Humanity had faced a threat that had destroyed countless civilizations and emerged victorious. Admiral Brooks felt tears in her eyes as she watched her people celebrate their greatest triumph. "Signal all colonies," she ordered. "Tell them the threat is over. Humanity stands victorious." The news spread across human space faster than light itself. On every world, and 3 days after the battle, Admiral Susan Brooks stood in the same command center where she had first seen the footage from Commander Jake Miller's ship. The difference now was that instead of watching scenes of destruction, she was receiving congratulations from species across the galaxy. Her decision to stand and fight had changed everything. President Richard Hayes arrived at the command center with representatives from every human colony. The mood was very different from their emergency meeting weeks earlier. Instead of fear and argument, there was pride and unity among all the human leaders. "Admiral Brooks," President Hayes said with a smile, "I believe you have some visitors who want to meet with you." The main screen activated, showing 3 familiar alien faces. The Zephyrian Admiral Kithara looked amazed, while the Void Walker representative seemed confused. The Crystalline Collective being changed colors, rapidly showing what appeared to be excitement. "Human Admiral Brooks," Admiral Kithara said, "we have traveled far to see for ourselves what happened here. Our instruments detected the creature's destruction, but we could not believe the readings." "The readings are correct," Admiral Brooks replied. "The creature is gone and will never threaten another civilization." The Void Walker moved closer to its communication device. "How did your species accomplish what we could not? We have technology far older than yours, yet we fled in terror." Dr. Patricia Lee stepped forward to answer. "You fled because you are smart and careful. We fought because we were too stubborn to give up our homes. Sometimes being stubborn is more important than being smart." "But your weapons," the crystalline being said, "how did they damage something?" "That consumed our most powerful energy sources. Human technology developed differently than yours," Dr. Lee explained. "We use quantum field manipulation in ways that confused the creature. It could not adapt to our systems fast enough to defend itself." Admiral Kithara was quiet for a moment, and spoke with something that sounded like respect. "We came here expecting to find the remains of another destroyed civilization. Instead, we find the first species to defeat the ancient hunger. This changes everything. Over the following days, ships from dozens of alien species arrived to study the battle site and meet with human representatives. The species that had fled in terror now wanted to understand how humanity had achieved the impossible. Each group brought gifts and offers of friendship. The Zephyrian Empire offered to share their advanced medical technology. The Void Walkers provided star maps showing safe routes through dangerous regions of space. The Crystalline Collective brought samples of their living crystal technology that could enhance human computers. But the most important visitors were the small species that had been hiding from the creature for generations. Entire civilizations emerged from hidden refuges in distant star systems, bringing stories of worlds that had been evacuated and cultures that had been scattered. Captain Amy Foster found herself assigned to escort refugee ships back to their home. Systems. Her tactical officer Ryan Clark had been promoted and now commanded his own vessel. Weapons specialist Nicole Green became the head of a new department studying alien defensive technologies. Captain Foster said the leader of a small reptilian species. Our people have been hiding in the outer rim for 50 years waiting for the hunger to pass. We never imagined it could be destroyed. You can go home now, Amy replied. The creature is gone and will never return. The refugee ship's crew celebrated as they prepared to return to worlds they had thought lost forever. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as displaced populations learned they could finally return home. Commander Tony Martinez received a special assignment from Admiral Brooks. His successful communication with the creature had provided crucial information for the victory. Now he led diplomatic missions to species that had never met humans before. Your species interests us greatly, said an ancient being from the galactic core. We have watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years, but we have never seen courage like yours. We are not braver than other species, Tony replied. We just had something worth fighting for. Dr. Lee continued studying the remains of the creature with her team, including Carl Johnson and Maya Patel. They discovered that the entity had been collecting knowledge from every civilization it consumed. Hidden in its energy patterns were the histories of thousands of species, including many that had been thought completely lost. We can restore entire cultures, Maya announced at a research conference. The creature preserved everything it absorbed. Languages, art, scientific discoveries, all of it is still here. This discovery meant that the creature's destruction was not just a military victory, but a rescue of galactic heritage. Species that had been extinct for millions of years could be remembered and honored again. Their knowledge could benefit civilizations across the galaxy. Colonel Sam Wright was promoted to general and given command of the new Galactic Defense Force. His ground combat experience proved valuable in training mixed species units. Demolitions expert Grace Kelly became the head of the explosives training program, while Jack Thompson ran communications between human and alien forces. The galaxy is safer now, but there may be other threats. General Wright told his mixed species staff, we need to be ready to work together against whatever comes next. The human colonies that had refused to evacuate became symbols of courage throughout known space. Governor Paul Davis on Mars welcomed alien visitors who wanted to see the world that chose to fight. Director Helen Rodriguez on the Jupiter stations hosted conferences on defensive technology. But the most important changes happened on Earth itself. The planet that had produced the species brave enough to stand against the impossible became a pilgrimage site for beings from across the galaxy. Young aliens came to study at human universities, while their elders met with human leaders to form new alliances. President Hayes addressed the United Nations, with representatives from 40 different species in attendance. Humanity did not fight alone, he said. We fought for every species that had suffered under the creature's hunger. We fought for the idea that some things are worth protecting no matter the cost. Admiral Brooks received the highest honors from dozens of alien governments, but she remained focused on the future. The victory over the creature had revealed that humanity had a unique role to play in galactic affairs. Other species might be older or more advanced, but humans possessed something equally valuable. What makes us special is not our technology or our weapons, she told a gathering of galactic leaders. What makes us special is our refusal to accept that any problem is too big to solve, or any enemy too powerful to face. The galaxy had learned an important lesson from humanity's stand. Running away from danger was often the smart choice, but sometimes the right choice was to plant your feet and fight for what mattered most. This lesson would guide interstellar relations for generations to come. Years later, when new alien species joined the galactic community, they all heard the same story. They learned about the young species from a small blue planet that faced an ancient evil and refused to run. They learned about the day when all other species fled, but humanity stood their ground. And they learned that sometimes the most important victories come not from superior strength or advanced technology, but from the simple decision to keep fighting when everyone else has given up hope. Humanity had taught the galaxy that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. The creature was gone, but its legacy lived on in a galaxy united by the example of those who chose to stand and fight rather than run and hide. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or explorers, but as protectors who would never abandon those who needed defending. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of species willing to stand together against whatever threatened their homes and families. And at the center of that alliance stood the people of Earth, who had proven that sometimes the best response to impossible odds was to look them in the eye and say no.